Yes. All right. Let's move on to some corporate news here because Apple is reportedly in talks to buy Intel's smartphone modem chip business. That deal could be reached in the next week, would be valued at $1 billion or more. It would give Apple access to the engineering work behind Intel's push for 5G technology. Let's talk more about this with the panel. It also, by the way, would allow Intel to exit what has not been a very successful business for it. It's interesting because Apple has had this strategy of sort of acquiring more and more of the nuts and bolts of its operation. So does this make sense for it?
It does. It's really a vertical integration play. So as Apple continues to transform from just looking to sell iPhones and other accessories and move into a much broader company when it comes to the services side, it needs to capture a bigger part of that chain. And purchasing a company, to your point, that Intel actually hasn't been that successful with, allows it to do so. So it's a $1 billion transaction, nothing to sneeze at, but it's really just a play for them to own more of that that chain that they can go deeper down into.
For a Luddite, though, does it play into Apple's plan to eventually build a 5G phone? Because Intel's still going to work on 5G chips.
Yeah, that's all part of it. Now, actually, Intel had pulled back a bit from working on the 5G side, but again, it allows them to own more of the components that they need, as opposed to relying on the uncertainty of different companies. So we know that they had that issue with Qualcomm that did finally reach a resolution. They turned to Intel, and now they're taking the part that they turned to and owning it.
Where does this leave Qualcomm? Does this give Apple more leverage with Qualcomm as a supplier?
Yeah, that plays an important role in this as well. So now you kind of begin to even that playing field a bit. To your point, is historically if you're just a company looking to acquire components, acquire parts. Now, if you own some of that, when you go up against someone, you know what it costs to manufacture it. You know the difficulty in sourcing it. So that allows them to actually have a much greater say when it comes to those components.
It's interesting that the Apple stock today is only up about 0.25%. So, you know, I guess there's still some uncertainties about the costs associated with bringing some of this manufacturing in-house. And I guess Apple's going to be manufacturing this stuff for itself, right? Intel couldn't make it work perhaps because couldn't make the technology work, but also wasn't finding enough customers. Apple's its own customer. But you do wonder about the economics of this, is my point.
Yeah, it's not that exciting, I think, for Apple investors who want to see, the next great phone, right? But the company's transitioning, and these are things the company needs to do if it wants to move in that direction.
Could they capitalize on their privacy push, make this an issue of, look, it's more of the closed ecosystem?
Look, that's going to be their play. I think you certainly could use that going down the line because now they continue to own things and say, hey, we're ensuring that the things that we're putting into our chips are not going to be distorted by anyone else. But it's difficult to say if that's really the motivation.